Amara always loved history class. It was the one place where she felt connected to the past, where stories of courage and struggle came alive in her mind. But today was different. Her teacher had assigned a group project on influential historical figures, and Amara's group chose to present on civil rights leaders. As she stood in front of the class, proudly speaking about heroes like Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr., she noticed a boy in the back snickering. When she sat down, she heard the whisper. "Bet her ancestors were slaves," he muttered under his breath, just loud enough for her to hear. Amara's face burned, her throat tightening as she fought back tears. She wanted to disappear, to sink into the floor and never come back. But she didn't. She sat there, forcing herself to breathe, to hold her head high. That evening, she told her parents. Her father's jaw clenched, his fists curling at his sides. But her mother took her hands gently, her voice soft yet firm. "Amara, they don't define who you are. You come from a line of survivors, of warriors. Don't let ignorance take away your pride." But the next day, the whispers continued. In the hallway, she heard it again. "Hey, slave girl," someone called out, laughing as she walked by. She kept her eyes on the floor, her heart pounding. By lunch, she couldn't take it anymore. She ran to the bathroom, locking herself in a stall as tears streamed down her face. It wasn't fair. Why did they hate her for something she couldn't change? As she sat there, her mother's words echoed in her mind. "You come from a line of survivors." She took a deep breath, wiping her tears away. Her ancestors had endured so much more. They had fought, survived, thrived. She couldn't let a few ignorant voices silence her. That afternoon, Amara went to the principal's office. Her voice shook as she explained what had been happening, but she didn't back down. The principal listened, his face growing serious. He promised to address it, to make sure it stopped. The next week, the school held an assembly on tolerance and respect. They brought in a guest speaker, a local historian who spoke about the power of words and the importance of understanding each other's history. As Amara sat in the auditorium, she felt a wave of relief. She wasn't alone. She wasn't invisible. After the assembly, the boy who had started the rumors approached her. He looked at the ground, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry. I didn't understand. I didn't know." Amara looked at him, really looked at him. She saw the shame in his eyes, the regret. And for the first time, she didn't feel anger. She felt pity. Because ignorance was a chain too. She nodded, her voice steady. "Now you do. Don't let it happen again." He nodded, walking away with his shoulders slumped. Amara watched him go, feeling the weight lift from her chest. She realized then that courage wasn't just about standing up for yourself. It was about breaking the chains that bound others, even if they didn't realize they were trapped. And in that moment, she knew her story was just beginning. But the journey wasn't over. Even after the apology, even after the assembly, Amara continued to face whispers, glances, and judgments. Yet she walked with her head held high. Because now she knew who she was and where she came from. Inspired by the guest speaker's words, she joined the school's diversity club, eager to help others understand the importance of history and identity. She shared her story with the group, her voice steady and strong. She spoke not just of pain, but of resilience, of strength, and of hope. Together, they organized workshops, bringing in speakers from different backgrounds to share their experiences. They created safe spaces where students could ask questions, confront their biases, and learn to see each other beyond stereotypes. One afternoon, Amara found herself speaking in front of the whole school once again. But this time, she wasn't just presenting a project. She was telling her story, her truth. She spoke about her ancestors, about their courage, about how they had built the world they now lived in. And she spoke about how their legacy was one of strength, not shame. As she spoke, she saw faces soften, eyes widen, and shoulders relax. People were listening, not just hearing her words, but feeling them. After her speech, students approached her, some apologizing, others thanking her for opening their eyes. Teachers commended her bravery, her grace, her power. Amara realized then that her story was bigger than her. It was a bridge, a way to connect people who once felt worlds apart. Her actions sparked change. The school implemented new programs celebrating cultural heritage, promoting inclusivity, and educating students on the history that shaped them all. Amara watched as her peers learned to embrace differences, to see them not as divisions but as threads weaving them together. Amara knew she still had a long way to go. There would be more challenges, more whispers, more people who refused to understand. But she was ready to face them, armed with her truth and her voice. Because she came from a line of survivors, of warriors. And like them, she would rise. Her story was just beginning, and she was ready to write it, one brave word at a time.